Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Empower Hour podcast. I'm here with an LA to LA connection, Louisiana to Los Angeles connection, Miss Reagan Charleston, my new bestie.
We had so much fun last night.
So much fun. So Reagan is a power mom, a lawyer, has her own jewelry line, which I'm sure you all know about, and has done a number of other things and is going to do a lot of other really fantastic things. So Reagan is here as our guest today. Welcome, Reagan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. Okay, I always start off with 3 adjectives that describe yourself.
Oh my gosh.
No wrong or right answer. Go.
Ambitious, loyal. What's the last one? Oh my gosh. I always say I'm a joie de vivre. But that's so many words.
It's okay.
Ambitious, loyal, hardworking.
Love.
I don't know.
Loud.
Can I add another one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Loud.
You can. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up just outside of New Orleans in a suburb called Mandeville. Well, we lived between Mandeville and Covington, and it's like 30 minutes north of New Orleans.
Okay, so growing up as a little girl in New Orleans, did you ever think you would be the Reagan Charleston that you are right this moment?
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I
Tell
have
me about
loftier goals. I'm like, wait, I'm not where I want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I grew up with a really interesting family. My grandparents were artists. They had a French Quarter art gallery. So from my earliest memories, I had really interesting people around and successful people, and they did a lot of traveling, and my mom worked within their business. And so I was exposed to just so many different things as a young person. And I knew that I wanted to basically be my own boss because I was watching my family members do that. Mm. But I didn't ever see myself as like an artist. And so the fact that I've managed to do 2 of them, I'm pleased with myself because I figured out how to be a professional and then also kind of tap into that artistic side and have my company.
Which is pretty amazing. And so we're going to just jump in because the fact that you have been able to bridge what I think is your passion, the art, the family, it's in your blood, that makes you tick. But at the same time, you are a powerhouse lawyer doing mass torts, and you can explain more about what that means to the people. A lot of people reach out to me and they ask me, how do I strike the balance? And you're a mom.
It's hard.
Oh my gosh. And you have like this massive social life and you're the life of the party, you're all of it, right? And you're doing it. And so how do you do that where you are able to bridge that it's not either or, it's I can have it all?
You can have it all.
Why?
I have so many answers to this though.
Yes.
I'll say, you can have so many different plates in the air, but like one of them will ultimately break or, things ultimately end up in the back seat. You can wear so many different hats, but at the end of the day, like you have to take one off. I don't try to do everything at once. I try to really compartmentalize things. And sometimes if I try to do it all, like something ultimately fails. I mean, I just have to be honest about it. You can, but it takes a lot of forethought and planning and structure and the right word, what is the right word for me? I guess peace with letting things go. Not being in control at all times. That's something that I suffer with. I mean, I want to make sure that everything is just how I like it. And I really just have to take a deep breath and realize like, okay, I can't change this. It is what it is. I've done my best.
And you don't get hung up on it. And
can't. I move right on.
What about failure?
Failing, it happens. I've had a few failures. I mean, many actually. It's a learning experience and I take it on the chin. That's all you can do. And I try not to think about it. I spent time ruminating, early years when something that didn't work out for me that I really wanted had just failed. I mean, I failed at it. And I looked it in the face and I said, okay, this wasn't for me. Now on to the next thing. Or if it was something I really wanted, I tried again. So it's like a second bite at the apple. I'll always take it.
But it didn't define you and it didn't stop you because, there's so many people out there that it really will stop them dead in their tracks.
Can't let it.
And they're just like this. I can't believe that this happened. This is, and it's like, okay.
I keep going. I've been married twice.
Hello. Samesies.
All of that personal goodness, like in my background, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna get it right. I'll get it right eventually. Maybe not right now.
It's okay.
Maybe not next year, but I'll figure it out. It is whatever it is. That's like kind of like my life motto. Like it is what it is. Moving on.
Yeah.
When I left undergrad, I wanted to immediately go into law school. Met my first husband. He was an NFL player, kind of joined the circus, ran around, would move wherever he was training. It was fun. I was in my early 20s. Oh my God.
Oh, so your early 20s.
I was like 23, 24 years old.
Living the dream.
We were like going to Scottsdale. We're going to California. We're all over the place, just traveling, living our life. And I put everything on the back burner. So fast forward a couple of years, he retires. And I am just at this point like a stay-at-home. I have a business, but I was looking at all of my friends graduating from law school. Yeah.
How old were you at that point?
At this point, I think I was 25 or 26.
So you didn't go to law school?
Had not ever gone to law school.
You wanted to?
I took the LSAT, wanted to go, like never submitted my application. And what did it for me was watching my first husband. He had retired from the NFL. I started a business while he was playing. I've been very successful with my business, but I was never fully satisfied. I never felt that gratification from it because I was watching my contemporaries finish law school, take the bar, pass the bar, get great jobs. My brother's an attorney. My sister-in-law is an attorney. And I'm looking at all of these people and I'm like, I did really well in school and I got a really great score in the LSAT and I should go and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But what really did it was my first husband went and signed up for an EMBA program. And so I was working from home and I was at home by myself for, 8-10 hours a day while he was doing his EMBA at Tulane. And I'm like, why am I sitting back to cook dinners, clean house, and run a business when I can just go to law school and go and pursue my own dreams? I've been on the sidelines literally for years. Right. And I'm like, life is passing me by. And so I'm like looking at myself and I'm like in my mid-20s and I'm like, nope, I'm not letting this happen. So I just submitted my application, started law school. I had, at the same time, I was working on a television show. I was filming a TV show. And I somehow managed to stay at the top of my class. I was on law review.
So smart.
I got great jobs. I was so, like, it was one of those aha moments that I'm like, if I had let, like, basically not society, like, that seems like that's too over the top. But, pick one thing. Everybody wants you to pick one thing. I had somebody tell me that. You can't be a jewelry designer, a television personality, and an attorney.
I hate that.
Pick one.
No.
And I said, watch me. Oh, yes. I'm going to do it all. And I have. Now it's not easy.
Of course
and
not.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm absolutely like, God, being a business owner,
I know.
You're constantly being thrown a curveball.
Constantly.
It's 24/7.
Do you regret, or do you ever feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew?
Yeah, every day. Every single day. And I try to
And that's
delegate.
okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I figure it out. I'm never like even when I like sit down and I'm like, oh, I haven't had enough time to put into it's my primary focus. I mean, right now has been my law career and I have a business and that's one thing that I've done lately that I really regret is I've let my business be in the backseat.
One of the plates.
Yes, it's dropped. And I have a sister that she's great and she's stepped into my role, but it's been very hard for me to delegate. It's been hard for me to pass on. Yeah. And you feel like nobody can do it as well as you can. And I think that I really need to figure out a way to either bring on some more people that I trust or work it out because it's difficult to look at it and be like, oh my God, I'm putting all of my time into this and I'm letting this go.
Absolutely.
And I feel like it's like my business became my stepchild and like I didn't pay enough attention and I sat back and I was like, ooh,
yeah,
you both matter. I've got to figure out how to like put all of my time equally into both.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday about how do you grow and do what you want to do, lawyer, own your business, get on a show, all these things. How do you do it? And it is the art of delegation and identify. I know it is. You and I are very similar in that we're type A. We're very much, if you want it done right, we'll do it ourselves because we can do anything and we're good at it. But that inhibits growth because that mindset of that, I'll do it myself, I'll go for it. That gets us to a certain point, but then there's an interesting process that has to happen to continue to grow, especially as a business owner, where the art of delegation has to be learned. How you have to trust yourself enough to hire a village. It takes a village to help you continue to grow, to give you the space to have the imagination, the thought process.
So hard.
It's extremely difficult.
I want to be in control of everything. I want my hands and everything. Like I like to take my own product shots. That's crazy.
Really? What does that mean? When I get them, explain that for people who don't know what that means.
I literally will take my own jewelry shots. I prefer it.
With your camera.
I have my own kit with my own camera. I've got my own lighting. Like I have everything.
So you're a photographer too.
Absolutely. I've learned. That was the very first thing that I, as a business owner, knew because my family had explained that to me. And that was one thing growing up. They said you have to know how to do everything. If you cannot do everything, if somebody doesn't show up to work one day and you don't know how to do it, what do? Exactly. You have to step into that role.
That's right.
But I learned from the get-go. I mean, I did editing, I did graphics, I did socials, I did creative. And it's very hard to look at somebody else's work and compare it to mine. And I'm like, what is that? When I farm it out and like give it off to somebody and then it comes back and I'm like, oh my God. And then I feel like I have to fix it and then it takes more time. And I'm like, I could just do this myself. But now I've got this equally like satisfying career that is at a point where I feel like it could just take off. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm at that point. How do I?
How exciting.
It's very exciting.
Let's talk about your business because we have not really described what your business is.
Yeah.
Let's tell the people what you do.
Wait, so the law or the jewelry?
Jewelry.
Okay, so the jewelry. So I started my jewelry business in like 2011. My grandparents, like I said, were copper sculpture artists in the French Quarter. I grew up watching them make things. Family members that were also artists. And I just knew that you could, whatever you wanted, you get it done.
Yeah.
I've been to Italy several times. I studied there in college, went back for my first honeymoon. And I was always drawn in Florence to this like particular street where they had these doors that with lion door knockers. And I'm like, oh, I love it. I'm a Leo. My grandparents' art gallery had the lions on the gates, 2 lions. It's court of 2 lions. Very like historic, famous building and courtyard in New Orleans. So I see this. I come back and I'm like, I'm just doing it. I want to make a necklace. Like I want to have this made. So I found a wax artist. I had it carved. I have it cast into gold. I started wearing it. And then people are like, where's that necklace from? And that's carried through the entire, over a decade now. People stop and say, where are the earrings? Where's the necklace? Where's the ring?
Which you're wearing right now.
What I'm wearing. This is the signature. I didn't pack well for this trip, but I have the whole set on. So I have the Leone earring and the necklace.
It's gorgeous.
Originally was done in 18 karat gold, set with rubies and diamonds.
Oh.
And it was so, I mean, it is beautiful. I still have the original piece. It's gorgeous.
Do you wear it?
Oh, yeah, I do. I try to wear what I sell most, though. And I'm getting into fine jewelry with a really great partner, Jack Sutton in New Orleans. You're probably familiar. He has a store in Aspen, a New Orleans legend. We're doing fine jewelry, but my market has been sterling silver and brass jewelry. We use fine jeweler's grain brass. It's very high end. You could bury it, like take it, bury it in the backyard, go back for it 20 years later, polish it off, and it's going to look the same. Oh my God. I mean, we're just using traditional metals that have been used for centuries, and we make beautiful like artisanal heritage jewelry, and I love it. I mean, it's great.
So you have people that are going to be listening that a lot of people are starting their own businesses and some are in the jewelry line and whatnot. Because you make it seem so easy and we know it's not easy.
It's not easy at all.
How do you market? How do you get out there? You did it through COVID. Do you have stores? Is it online? Is it e-commerce? What is it? What works for you?
I have like a very interesting background. When I first started, it was just grassroots. Like people wanted it.
You by yourself.
Just in the community. So getting involved with the right people in the community. One of my good friends ran a fashion week. Her name's Tracy Dundas. She did New Orleans Fashion Week. She put me in touch with local stores and, local publications. So we have like St. Charles Avenue magazine. They did like a feature on the jewelry, and they'd done a feature on my grandparents' gallery.
It's a great magazine.
40 years ago or something. So we like have those together. Yes. So it was reaching out to the right people in the community to get the word out. Look, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. Doing it obviously is the first thing. Then you reach out to the right people in your community. I travel a lot. That's always been something that I'm very passionate about. So I went back to Italy, and this is kind of one of the lessons that I learned very on in life. And it was, if you don't ask, you'll never know. So, I mean, the worst that they can say is no. Right? So, you never get what you don't ask for.
That's right.
And my uncle, who was a very fabulous businessman, and he had a really cool business in New Orleans, and they did metal plating. So I've had all of this metal. My grandparents were metal sculpture artists. My uncle did metal plating. He had this big facility, and they plated for, they did like aeronautical plating and big heavy machinery. Not jewelry, like for things for like NASA. They would plate incredible things. Like, it was like an entire manufacturing facility. But he said you kick the door down, basically. Like walk in like you own the place. And he's told me that since I was like 3 years old.
Which you do though. You walk in a room and it's like, bam.
I don't feel like that.
I know you don't.
I get so insecure. I feel like I've had like these voices like, you do this, you be so strong. But like inside I'm like,
will they like me? Like, will they believe me?
Last night, for instance.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about it. I want to talk about everything. Let's talk about everything. But I'll go back to my business. Just doing it. One. asking the right questions, getting to the right people, starting.
What about you get no over and over again? As a new business owner, sometimes
keep
you
going.
do.
You just keep going. I've had to deal with the biggest assholes. Pardon my French.
No, it's fine. We cuss on this show.
There is a woman I just have to talk about because
I will get the name
yesterday.
off the air.
I had talked to someone yesterday and she said, Reagan's told people not to come to my store because I didn't pick up her jewelry. And I was like, who is this? I've never. And then I started remembering and I'm like, years ago when I was filming the first TV show, one of my girlfriends I was very close with worked for this boutique and she had me come in and she said she really likes your jewelry. She wants to pick it up. Will you bring a few pieces over? In between filming, in between my law school classes, I made the time to get to this boutique. And I go over there and she was disappointed that the cameras weren't there.
No.
And she was like, I'm not interested. And I was like, oh. And even still, I've been nice about her. Hi, how are you?
Of course.
I love your clothes. I love your clients.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the nerve.
Right.
No, I was never going to buy something there because she was rude. She didn't treat me like I would treat somebody that came into my store. But I've never said that until today.
But you
and I heard it yesterday and I'm like, oh my God. But it was the perfect example of what it's like to be in retail. Retail is difficult.
It seems difficult.
I don't like to deal with retailers. I don't like to deal with boutique owners.
Why?
They're terrible.
Why?
They're not good to their wholesalers, especially if you're a small business.
Really?
It's not a friendly area.
Is it
I have
because
never
it's
liked
super
that.
competitive?
No, I feel like it's super small. Big stores, great. Go for the big stores. I walked into Louisa Via Roma in Florence, walked right in. Hi, how are you?
God.
I have a jewelry line. Oh, our buyer's here. So I walk in, I meet the 6'7", like beautiful Italian man.
Oh my gosh.
And I show him my jewelry and I'm like decked. I had these custom hats made in Italy that I look back at pictures and I was like, that was ridiculous. But
it worked.
It worked. They picked up my line. A little girl from New Orleans.
Yes, girl.
27 years old or something.
Come on.
I walk in and I'm carried alongside of like Valentino and Prada and Dolce & Gabbana and every brand. I mean, it was just something. And I'm like, back to my uncle. Walk in like you own the
I was
place.
just going to say,
where's your jewelry
You'll
buyer?
never find out if you don't ask.
No.
Oh, but I'm scared. What if they say no and I'm embarrassed? And what if it fails?
Yeah.
Okay, then don't ask.
Don't be deterred by the other small people, though. That's a lesson because they were friendly, they were welcoming, they were accepting, they took me seriously. But if you deal with small fries, power trip, power hungry, you just have to like look that in the face and be like, no, you're not the end all be all.
Right.
Like, so that was something that I was just thinking yesterday. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I don't deal with boutiques.
And you see it on both sides in the legal industry, in any industry.
Yeah.
You'll have people who are coming up and they're trying to make a name for themselves. And I understand everyone has that hustle, but then it's not even an art. It's just the courtesy of being a decent, kind person to others, no matter where they are in their station.
Where you're at. I saw, and I think I just get bothered by people that aren't above board, that don't do things like with not even compassion. Like it is not even compassion. Just be a nice person. Yeah. But I saw something recently and I keep saving it. And I'm like, I want to post this. And it's like, the people at the top aren't competing. They're collaborating.
I know. I don't say I have competitors. I have colleagues. I have collaborators. You don't have competitors. There's no one else like you.
No, I collaborate and I'm always looking for a lesson. I'm always looking for someone, and it's the people that aren't threatened, that just want to work with you and not against you. Those are your people.
And as a woman who's beautiful, and you and I both assert confidence, it is very intimidating to people, and especially other women.
They don't know what to do with you.
They don't know what to do with us, and then that's where you can I know you see it too. Very quickly, you separate the people who talk about you, who are just the haters, and then the people who are truly like, how do we collaborate? I'm a fan. How can we work together? How can I learn from you? And it's this wonderful group think community that is.
How do I use your strength? How do we work together? And that was something that early on, I feel like I've met so many people in my life. And like one of my good friends started the shoe business in Florence. Everything goes back to Florence, Italy for me. And I met Nick Still, and she was a journalist, and she worked for Time Magazine, had lived in India, and she just like wanted to quit. She's like, I want to design shoes. And she moved to Italy and she started designing shoes. But I met her kind of in the beginning of her business. And I was talking about my jewelry business. This was like in 2012, maybe 13. And she said, collaborate, ask the questions, find the leaders in your community or in your industry and ask. All they can do is tell you no. okay, I don't have the time to talk to you, but often they will. And she told me that. And so all along the way, I asked questions of everyone and for favors. And would you help me with this? Because why not?
Why not?
I mean, why not? Why not say, do you mind like placing this in your magazine, or you like it? Would you, promote it on your page?
Yeah.
Would you wear it? I've gotten so many good celebrity placements just by saying, oh, you like it? Let me send you one.
Well, I saw you do that last night. We went to an event for Lauren Sanchez for This Is About Humanity.
God, she's beautiful.
And so gorgeous. And as soon as you met her, she's gracious, kind, genuinely kind, right? Like right away, she's like, hi, how are you? Warm. And I'm so happy to know that because I love her.
She's an authentic human.
And sometimes you don't want to meet your celebrity people that you want, like you love.
You don't want them to disappoint you.
Yes, because I've been disappointed by some celebrities and I hate that I met them and they've ruined the image I have. She just shone like a shining star. And
I wanted to hug her.
I know. I'm like, are we besties?
Are we besties?
I
Yeah.
think we're besties now.
Mm.
But anyways, you very assertively and confidently, but very just like appropriately mentioned your jewelry line. And Lauren was like, that is gorgeous. She's like, it's so Game of Thrones. It's such a statement piece. She all said, about you.
I am like so weird about it. So every time I wear it, people say like, oh, I love your necklace. And it's very hard for me to say it's mine. And it seems silly. But she said, oh, I love your necklace. Yes. And it was everything that I could do to like not just be like, thank you. And I was like, no, actually, it's from my company.
I'm so proud of you.
That's something that I've really had to learn how to do.
Why?
Actually, it's from my business because it feels salesy to me.
You don't feel comfortable.
I don't like to sell. I like everything to be authentic. And it's a sharing point for me. And I can walk in, sure, to a buyer. Like that's their job. That's my job. But when it's just a person that's like, oh, I love your necklace. It's hard for me to say, oh, it's from my company.
Because it feels inauthentic.
It feels weird. It feels like I'm selling something in what is an otherwise authentic moment. When a woman tells you, I love your necklace, and you're talking to, okay, first of all, not just any woman, you're talking to Lauren Sanchez, who is an icon, and her fiance, Jeff Bezos, are literally changing the world. How do you respond to that without wanting to like, woo.
And she's Latina. Yeah. By the way, you have Latina in you too. So It's like birds of a feather.
Oh my God. Yes. I'm so, yes. And I didn't know what to do. And I was like, my like voice inside my head said, just say it. And I was like, it's from my jewelry company.
I'm so proud. And I heard you say it. And I'm like,
I have to get her one. I was like, I'd love to send you one.
We're going to send her one.
I have to. And she was so sweet about it. And I was like, I don't want to bother you now. I'll get your information later.
No, but she was just happy to talk.
Yeah. She's
not like shooing us away.
No. She was like, oh, but I love it. Where are you from? And I'm like, okay, that is another thing that like bank it. Because I always want to make people feel like she made me feel in that moment.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes. She has everything in the entire world, every opportunity, every advantage, and she still takes the time to say something so kind and then want to support another female business owner, another female entrepreneur, another professional. And it's such a small gesture just to be kind.
Powerful, but it's powerful.
It's so powerful. And like, I think back to like the negative interactions, or I didn't even know it was a negative. I mean, it was kind of negative, but like just I heard about it yesterday sitting at lunch, and I was like, wait, no, that's not how that happened. And I was so gracious, and I've been so gracious over the years. And I'm like, and that's how she talks about it? I'm like, then I just think that's why as a small business owner, and I think about that, I'm like, if that had gotten back to me, it might have been a reason that I didn't walk through another door.
Interesting.
Or maybe was intimidated. Like, I'm not going to take that meeting, but you can't. You just have to like push it aside and think the people at the top are collaborating.
Yes.
The people at the bottom are competing.
Absolutely.
And that's all you have to think about.
I love that. That is such a good lesson. Ooh, but that's the key. Yeah. And that is going to define the successful versus the not that just keeps spinning out.
It will define your life.
All of it.
If you're competing against other people, instead of competing at with yourself, then how do you like succeed? How do you move ahead?
You can't.
Like, good luck if you want to look at everybody else and see them as competition. Look at everyone else and see them as an asset.
Yes. Or an opportunity.
An opportunity, an asset, an advantage. Like, what can I learn from you?
Yeah.
To move forward.
One thing I do, because we're human, I will look at people, especially on social media, and I compare myself. And I get the comparison syndrome and the imposter syndrome, and I'm not doing enough, and they're so much more successful than me. I wish and I revert to my old mindset where I'm like, they're lucky, or I start becoming like jealous or insecure with myself.
That's human nature.
Human nature. But what you just said is it's a trigger warning that I get, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling jealous and insecure. Now I know my mind has to look at, it's just reflecting
What
me.
can I learn from that person?
What can I learn from them? Why am I being triggered?
Exactly.
They're doing something I feel
that you want to do. So do it tomorrow.
So learn about it.
Learn about it.
Align with them. Figure it out. Follow them. How do they do it? Reach out to them.
Talk to them. Yeah. So that's something, like I've been in television too. And I think that early on, reality TV, like not professional television. I'm talking about like super like gritty,
reality TV.
Hold on to your wig. It's real. It's just stupid. I mean, I love it. I love it. I live for it. I'll do it all over again. But it's not, you never know what to expect. You're up against everything.
Oh my God.
And I had to very early on be like, okay, I can handle this.
Can you control the narrative? Or when you sign on to these shows, they're producing all of it?
You cannot control anything.
They create the sensationalism for you.
Or anybody does. I mean, it could be like, especially on, okay, let me say this. When cameras start rolling, people are like, they go from a 0 to a 10. So you're like faced with that. I mean, it's just human nature.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's just you constantly, something's changing. You have to constantly like, pivot and deal with it. But having a thick skin and dealing with people and like, okay, I might not be at this level, or this person might be coming out ahead, or you just have to like, whatever, I'll just do something different. I'll do something different, because that's the only thing you can do.
Right.
And so I've like had all these different experiences, and I feel like they all like kind of mesh, and like law, being a small business owner, being on television, and all of it comes down to being brave, having grit, and having a thick skin. Because without those three things, like you will never get ahead, because you have to risk everything.
Okay. And on top of all of that you just said, how do you deal with mom guilt?
Okay. It's so hard. It's so freaking hard. I don't know how to balance the mom guilt, because I have two beautiful babies. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, a little 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old little boy. And my daughter was born about a year before COVID. Not even, she was like 9 months old or something when we were, living in lockdown. So via COVID, I went from being on television, taking her everywhere with me, traveling. We got back from Paris in November, right before, I guess what was COVID, February of the next year, 2020. So, I really had all of my time with her. So working from home, running a small business from home during COVID was not a nightmare. I made a lot of money.
Because you were in e-commerce.
E-commerce site, baby. And people were at home, and I was selling jewelry from home. People were watching. It was like Christmas for a year.
Stop.
Oh my God, my numbers were like Christmas numbers for a year. It was insane. Now, I have to like really balance it against my store closed. So I lost that revenue.
Sure.
And we'd had great numbers I'm in a really great mall in New Orleans with Saks and Louis Vuitton and Tiffany's. It's a high-end luxury shopping experience. That was shuttered for a year. So yes, I took a hit there, but my online sales were magnificent. But my daughter was like alongside of me the entire time.
Yeah.
So I didn't miss a moment with her. Then I get pregnant with Rex, and I don't know, I guess it was last August. So Rex was just making 1, and I was like, I'm not practicing law. I'm still watching those same colleagues get ahead. And I had taken a job. I'd worked at my father-in-law's law firm doing real estate law, totally unfulfilled. I was not doing it. It was transactional. I didn't feel like I was, doing what I was meant to do. And I talked to one of my mentors who's in mass torts. And I said, I think I'm going to start putting my resume out. Do you mind if I put you as a reference? And he's like, whoa, where are you sending them? And he said, no. And he's like, do you want to like stay small town, or do you want to have like a meaningful big time career? And I was like, well, a meaningful big time career. Thank you. He's like, I'm going to give you some ideas.
Oh.
Yeah. So that is how I found the firm that I'm with. And I'm with Elstock, Whitkin, Crease, and Overholtz in Pensacola, Florida. And in Pensacola, and I knew a little bit about the mass torts field and class action field because some of my mentors are working in that field. And, I've known a little bit over the years. But I started working at this firm, and I'm very at home. We do mass tort, so MDL, so consolidated.
Can you explain that to the lay people who don't understand legalese?
Okay.
Because I barely understand what that is.
I know.
I'm a lawyer.
Okay, so there's differences between mass tort and, MDL and class action.
People get injured.
Have like an economic injury with a class action.
Okay.
And you don't typically involve like a personal injury action in that. So you'll see something like, if it's a monetary issue, you've spent money on this and you wouldn't have otherwise spent that money had you known about X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So class actions are a little bit different. They're much more managed. There's a lot more judicial oversight with a class action. And then in the MDL world, you're going to see more products liability.
What does MDL stand for?
Multi-district litigation. So, yes, multi-district litigation. And what
Not
happens—
that you're going to need to know that.
If there's one single common fact across all of these different cases, they're eligible for consolidation.
Okay.
And they will consolidate the cases in the interest of judicial efficiency and economy. And they'll transfer it. It becomes a federal case that's transferred to a federal judge, MDL judge. And then all of these cases, sometimes hundreds of thousands of cases, are consolidated into one mass action. So if you're looking at, for an example, like a lot of attorneys or firms that work in this field advertise on television. So, have you taken this specific drug?
Okay.
If you've taken this drug and you've suffered from X, Y, and Z, call the law offices of blank.
Okay.
That is
people
typically
understand that.
There's a products liability suit. And what happens is, we're talking about an industry that's enormous, like whether it's pharmaceuticals or medical products or anything. Let's talk about baby powder.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Baby powders, what's happened with Johnson & Johnson it's incredible. But guess what's not in baby powder anymore?
You see?
Talcum powder.
There we go.
Talc is not. Talc is done.
Causes cancer.
It causes cancer. So it's out. So without these cases, there would be no real change.
Right.
So a lot of people look at plaintiffs' attorneys and they see them as ambulance chasers or they're not authentic. But let's talk about getting talc out of baby powder that was giving people cancer.
Okay.
Where you're putting it on your most sensitive parts of your body.
That's right.
For decades and decades and decades.
And on your babies.
Off the shelves. Do you know that they just pulled it off the shelves?
Ridiculous. Years
and years after litigation began?
Oh, they're corporations like that are filthy, awful, evil beings.
Yes.
And so I appreciate you saying that because, people give plaintiffs' lawyers that protect people a very bad rap. Oh, they're after for the money. You talk like that until, God forbid, you have cancer from baby powder from Johnson & Johnson, and all of a sudden you find out everyone else in the country who has the same condition. All of a sudden the lawyer becomes a little more important and your advocate, which we are. Not to say that there aren't the crooks out there, because they are out there in any industry.
In any industry.
But
you're going to have good ones and bad ones, and there's always an opportunist.
Right.
But some opportunists are going to be the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and sometimes they're the loudest.
Listen.
And it doesn't really look, we're all playing on the same team. We want the corporations to pay.
Yes.
We want their products to be healthier. We want their products to be safer.
Yes.
And we want to hold people accountable. I work in sex abuse too. So we are looking at institutional sexual abuse that has gone on for decades and decades and
institutional, explain that for everyone. What does that mean?
For instance, an example, Catholic Church.
Help.
Clergy abuse.
Oh.
They've known about it for centuries, if you want to go back to the dawn of all of it.
Don't get me started on the church.
For decades and decades, it's been very ripe for discussion. People knew it was happening. Look at poor Sinead O'Connor. She tried to speak out about it in the early 90s.
They destroyed her.
They destroyed her. And she was talking about the abuse of children in the Catholic Church, which, guess what, folks? It happens. And it happens a lot.
It's still happening.
And it's still happening. And they're sweeping it under the rug.
Right.
And one of the things that I've had to do in this field, and nobody's really thinking about this, is I've had to steel myself. I have children. And I look at my little boy and I'm like, oh my gosh.
You can't.
You're sending your children and kids to schools and churches, and you have to trust that they're going to be looked after. And if it weren't brought to the forefront of people's minds, what happens?
That's it.
It goes on.
Right.
But now there's a watchdog. Now there are people looking. They're paying.
Lawyers like us who are advocating
for
holding these people accountable.
Yes, holding the people accountable. And it has to happen. And that's not just the only, sex abuse, it's everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's no turning away from it. It's something that as a society, we just have to get louder and louder and louder to where people are, they know that something will come of it.
And on this point, last night as well, we talked to Kim Kardashian.
Oh my gosh.
Also a lawyer.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of us because we approached her and she was also so lovely and professional and nice and welcoming and wanted to talk to us.
Yes.
And we approached her. I'm like, I'm a lawyer. I love your podcast. Have you heard it? It's so good, by the way. So good.
I haven't listened to it. I need to go listen.
You absolutely must. It is phenomenal. And I complimented her. I said, Kim, when is the next episode coming out? I'm obsessed. So she talked about it. And then I introduced you to her and you started talking about your sexual abuse cases. And I just loved the synergy and the fact that someone like her is using the platform.
She looked back at me several times. I know she wanted to keep talking.
Well, we're going to connect.
I want to connect with her because I need someone from her echelon.
Of course. But she gets it. And the reason I bring that up is because we were talking to her only about using her platform for social justice.
For social justice.
That's it.
Our
conversation with Kim was about that. And that was one of the crowning moments of the night.
I know.
Other than when I saw Diego Boneta.
I know his name. Wait, now I know who you're talking about. Okay, I get it. I was like, who are you talking about?
Just watch the Luis Miguel series, please.
I know his name though, and I know him. But back to Kim.
I saw him.
I have the opportunity to pursue what is a very high profile case.
Yeah.
It's kept me up at night.
I
don't know if I don't know if I'm prepared. And I cannot say anything about it, but I looked at Kim and I said, oh, damn, she can do it. Yeah. She could take it on because I don't know if I have the cojones to put it all on the line. Do I?
But again, opportunity.
I do, but I'm really scared, Gina. And I was kind of telling you about all of this last night. I
know.
And a lot of it's scary. And I'm just getting started. And I feel like I have a colorful background. You know, I am a serious attorney, but I've been on reality television. And I love reality television. I love it all. Yes, you can do it all. But I feel like that opens me up to criticism.
Of course.
It opens me up to the possibility of completely being trolled by someone. But I looked at her and I'm like, okay, she's the one. Ding, 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 ding.
And talk about her going against convention. Look at what she's created, that family. And we got to talk to Kris Jenner last night too, who is the mother of all mothers. And if they redefine success for women.
Yes.
Moms.
Yes.
Entrepreneurs.
I am a Kardashian stan.
Okay.
I love them.
Just look at what they did, and you are reflecting that. Like, they didn't do just reality TV.
No, they've done it
all. They're getting
literally all of it.
They're getting into private equity. They're getting in
social change. Yes.
She's a lawyer. She has her law firm. The whole family has her whole thing. And I'm like, again, not be insecure, not be haters, not be judges.
Can't listen to
How can I learn from them?
Yeah.
They did it. They shattered it. They're redefining the narrative. So anyways, obviously looking at them as inspiration, but as a lawyer as well, Kim, you know, there's partnerships, there's collaborations.
I heard you because I'm also like business minded, and I'm always thinking, like, when I came home last night, I was like, oh, I felt kind of defeated. Like, I didn't get an email or I didn't get a number, and that's just how I work as a business person. Like, it's like old school. Like, I got to leave with a contact. Like, I have to leave. But I didn't want to bother anybody because this isn't like a regular networking event. No.
It was
this is like intimate party with the biggest icons in every industry that you can imagine. And here I am, and I'm like, oh God, I want to talk to her about law, and I want to talk to her about my jewelry, and how do I do this? And I went home and I was like, you know, that feeling of like, well, I didn't get like the calling card. I can't help that. That's just how like my brain operates. And I'm like, most people would just be like, holy cow. I saw Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian, Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez, Ava Longoria, Rachel Zoe. Like, who else was there? Everybody was there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just go to sleep on that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I didn't really get any numbers.
But it's bigger than that because strategically, I went up to Kim. Let's talk. We're lawyers. Yeah. We can align.
I know.
Female lawyers. Let's talk about our percentages in the country. There's less. And anyway, we're working on
I know. But it's just part of who I am. I'm constantly thinking, which I guess is another lesson.
No, it's a gift. It's a gift.
Constantly think about your career and your business and like utilizing your connections, your network.
Everything's a strategy.
I know.
Always. And it's beautiful. Embrace it. As women, though, I think we're shamed into that, like, when do you disconnect? It's like, why do I need to disconnect?
I'm never going to disconnect.
Like, what does that mean, disconnect? I don't want to disconnect from anything.
From
then
what?
I'm not living.
From what? I'm never out of touch. Not
ever.
With any, like, yes, I haven't been fully involved in my company as I should be.
Doesn't matter. It's
still running.
Phase.
We're still pumping out orders. We're still making new jewelry. I made time for a photo shoot the other day that was a nightmare. I learned a lesson. Do not bring your children to a business photo shoot.
Do not.
She tried to tell me. I was like, well, I'll get portraits of me and the kids, and then we'll shoot some quick jewelry shots after. I've done this for 13, 14 years now. I can do photos and this quickly.
Not with the kids.
Not with a 2-year-old screaming, crying, pulling my hair down. He did not want me to take a picture. And as soon as I said, fine, I give up. No more pictures. He's fine. And then I'm like,
these kids.
You're fine. I'll go take some more pictures. And then I was like, oh, she was right. My poor photographer was like,
oh my God.
And I was like, I'm so sorry.
All right, Reagan,
so
we have so much more to talk about. So you're coming back to Los Angeles.
Yes, I will be back. I feel like we have we can go on for days.
What's your handle? How can people follow you and reach out to you? And
my personal handle is at Reagan Charleston. Okay. And then my jewelry page is at Reagan Charleston Jewelry.
So everybody go there right now, buy a piece, support her. She's amazing. And reach out because I know you are in communication with a lot of people and you just never know what's out there. And so
you just have to try everything.
And I love that you have and you do. And thank you for coming out. Thanks for saying yes.
Thank you for having me. Always say yes.
Always.
We talked about that yesterday.
Anyways, thank you for being here, friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.